All these places are in American southern area where the desert lies. American desert are very strange place. You will surreal experience in that area. There you will find some bizarre and weird place if you know where it is. We are bringing top 10 bizarre places in our video. Check this out. 10. The Mojave phone booth. It's called the loneliest phone booth in the world, but bizarrely, the Mojave phone booth has garnered something of a cult following since the late 1990s. It's perhaps even more bizarre because, let's face it, phone booths are a dying breed. They've already been replaced by the mobile phone, but there's one thing that a mobile phone absolutely doesn't have: a sense of mystery. In 1997, Wig Out magazine ran a letter describing the phone booth, which sits in a desolate area of the Mojave Desert that's more commonly frequented by cows and coyotes than people. The letter was read by Godfrey Daniels, who decided that he was going to try to call the number every day. For a long time, exactly what he expected happened: nothing. Until someone answered. From there, the legend of the phone booth continued to grow, to the point where people not only called it on a regular basis, but also made pilgrimages out into the desert to be there to answer it. Those people are like 51-year-old Rick Carr, who says that he received a holy vision requesting that he go answer the phone. So he did, camping out in the desert for 32 days and answering more than 500 phone calls from people from as nearby as Phoenix, as far away as Newfoundland, and as strange as the ones from Sergeant Zeno from the Pentagon. And the number is 760-733-9969. 9. Prada Mara. The relatively small, inconspicuous building sits on US 90, where it's made even smaller by the seemingly endless Texas sky. It's not a building, really, it's an art installation. Created by Michael Emelgreen and Thinga Dragset, Prada Mara is an $80,000 art installation, to be precise. It's the only Prada store in Texas, and it was built with the intention of letting it go to ruin, of letting nature reclaim it in whatever way was deemed appropriate. Meant as a commentary not only on the fleeting nature of the things that man creates, the artists also recruited the help of Prada, who gave approval to use their logo and even donated the shoes and handbags that went inside the store, to add another layer of meaning to the construction, on the fleeting nature of fashion. 8. Cadillac Ranch. Art is in the eye of the beholder, but in this case, the beholder also has a chance to make their own mark. In 1973, Stanley Marsh III, he didn't like the pretentiousness of the third, so III it is, joined forces with a San Francisco group of artists to create a unique, monumental masterpiece on his ranch just outside of Amarillo, Texas. The final product of the collaboration is 10 past their prime Cadillacs with their noses buried under the desert ground. The cars are all between the years of 1948 and 1963, were all purchased from junkyards for no more than $200 each, and have all taken on a life of their own. Originally, the cars were buried as they were bought, with their factory spec, rusting paint jobs untouched. Over the years, though, graffiti artists from all over the world have come to leave their mark, albeit temporarily, on the cars. Art and artwork, paint and scratches. Nothing lasts long, until it's covered by something else. Both the Ant Farm and Stanley Marsh III have long encouraged the ongoing, ever-changing artistic monument. 7. The world's largest thermometer. Death Valley, California, has earned its name. It's known as one of the hottest places on Earth, with recorded temperatures of 134°F/57 C, and the driest place in North America, getting less than 2 inches of rain every year. It's a fitting place for the world's largest thermometer. The 134-foot-tall thermometer towers over the desert landscape in nearby Baker, California. It was built in 1990 to 1991 by a local businessman, and the original intention was to commemorate that record-breaking, 134°F temperature record that made the area the hottest on Earth. The thermometer, which can display up to 134°F, hasn't been without its difficulties. It's not the original one that stands now, as that was blown over in a windstorm and needed to be rebuilt. It was also non-functioning for a while, after the owner of the thermometer got an $8,000 electric bill in the mail. The thermometer weighs about 33 tons, and contains almost 5,000 lights. 6. The giant, concrete arrows. They look like something out of a science fiction novel, slabs of arrow-shaped concrete in the middle of the vast nothingness of the desert. Landing beacons for extraterrestrials, maybe? Area 51 is right around the corner, after all. And it's not too far from the truth. The arrows point a path all the way across the country, from New York City on to San Francisco. They're huge, situated about every 10 miles, and they were meant to be seen from above. 5. Groom Mine, Nevada. There's absolutely no way to talk about UFOs without mentioning Roswell, New Mexico, and other weird places like the notoriously off-limits Area 51. The remote desert location has long been the subject of suspicions and accusations of the hiding of alien technology and aircraft, but you don't have to believe in aliens to appreciate some of the seriously shady stuff going on around Groom Lake. To be fair, the 1950s were a different time. There wasn't much that was known about the long-term effects of radiation and the bombs that were being tested in various military facilities, and that was one reason why Area 51 became a military testing site. It wasn't entirely remote and it wasn't entirely abandoned, however. 4. Stonehenge 2. Stonehenge has been around for thousands of years, but those who live in the United States and don't want to go all the way to England to see it can stop by Stonehenge 2 for a glimpse at what the megalithic monument would have looked like before thousands of years of weather took its toll. And, if the monument had been built at about 60% its original size. And, if it had been made out of metal and plaster instead of stone. And, if it were guarded by two of the Moai heads from Easter Island. It all started in 1989, when Doug Hill had some limestone left over from a patio he was building. He gave it to his neighbor, Al Shepard, who promptly stood it on end, stuck it in the ground, and decided that there was no way it was visible enough. The two then went on to construct replicas of the rest of the stones from Stonehenge, recreating the ancient megalith out of metal, plaster and steel, then painting it with concrete to give it a more authentic look. 3. Lancaster, California's Musical Road. Like it or not, you have to admit that it's a pretty brilliant piece of marketing. In 2008, the Honda Motor Company approached civic officials from Lancaster, California, and asked them to participate in a marketing campaign. Specifically, they wanted to cut grooves into one of their roads that, when driven over at the 55-mile-per-hour speed limit, would play the William Tell Overture. The company fronted the money to redo the road, then filmed their cars driving across it. Unfortunately, it was less of a hit with the people who lived within earshot of the road, and there were a lot of them that were suddenly subjected to hearing the theme song from the Lone Ranger over and over and over again as cars drove past. The whole thing turned into a bit of a nightmare as people continued to argue over whether the rumbling pavement was a good idea or not. Problems didn't just include the noise from everyday traffic, but also from people who came to drive the street just to hear the tune, then whip a U-turn and listen to it again. And again. And again. 2. The Branch Davidians swimming pool. There are certain moments in history that will live on well after those that saw them have passed on. One of those moments will, tragically, be the massacre of the Branch Davidians at Waco, Texas in 1993. Regardless of who the blame truly lies with, the death toll remains the same. Decades later, there is only a single thing remaining of the building that was home to Vernon Howell, known to his followers as alternately David Koresh and their Messiah. Visitors can still go to the grounds that were bloodied by the FBI and cult followers alike, but one of the only things left to see is the swimming pool. The pool is massive, large enough to completely hold a few tractor trailers. It's also filled with water, black and stagnant. 1. Austin's Moonlight Towers. When it comes to weird places in the American Southwest, Austin is up there with the strangest of them. We talked about Austin's infamous, Ripper-esque serial killer here, And now we're taking the opportunity to talk a little bit about one of the breathtakingly ingenious ways the city tried to stop their killer, by turning the night into the daytime. Austin officials purchased 31 of the so-called Moonlight towers from Detroit in 1894, planning on using them to make the city safer at night. Many were installed in 1894 and 1895, even though they weren't installed until well after the killings mysteriously stopped. They were still credited with the continued safety of the city's residents. The towers, standing about 165 feet tall and supporting 6,400-watt lamps, turned night into day. Their light was so powerful that local farmers feared that it would disrupt the natural rhythm of their chickens' egg-laying habits. They didn't. The Moonlight Towers were famously featured in the movie Dazed and Confused, bringing back something of an interest in the towers. Only 17 of the original 31 still stand, and they also still work.